Okay, thank you, Dave. And Nathaniel, you're on. So
Yep.
welcome to I have to look at the clock, January 11th, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamsci technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S. And this week I've been doing a little bit of programming, trying to get back in gear. We also have some construction here at the house coming. So we're getting a front porch. So anyway, that's about it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2 NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Steve. I've been continuing to work on paper revising and data analysis and things like that. So just trying to keep up with that. W2NF, back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Bill N8ET. Go ahead, Bill.
Don't give me a whole lot of time to get checked in here. Haven't got anything to report. I was on the RTTY contests all weekend, but that's about all I've been up to. So I'll sit and listen as usual tonight. Back to you, Dave.
So, Bill, it's by virtue of your B name that you float to the top. So
have to show up a little bit later. So
okay.
Get you started.
Or change, put your thing to
sign in as William, then I'll be all right.
William, then you'd be on the other end. Yes. Well, now we get to the Daves. So next on the list is Dave KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, not a lot of excitement to report here. I see Nathaniel. Is that a Big Lebowski sweater you've got there, Nathaniel? I had one just like the one he wore in that movie, and it looks like it's the same as that. Yeah. I love that thing, but my wife made it disappear. Other than that, I've not got much excitement to talk about. I've been busy with a lot of little piddly things. So back to you.
Okay. Next on the list is David Waugh, KE8QEP. Go ahead, David.
Hello, everyone. I'm still working on the magnetometer. As Scotty's suggestion, I tried repairing it, but after cleaning it very gently, like I would an optical lens, some of the components fell off along with their solder pad. So I think it has bigger issues. But so I'm still working on that. I got a new book on, I guess we should call it bonding, not bondage. And I got a new radio, which pretty much has killed 6 meters and 10 meters just because I'm a technician. Although I did catch some e-skip to Mexico. But that's it. Back tonight.
Well, fine business and enjoy your new radio. Next on the list is David Woodward. David, got any comments? Well, he doesn't seem to be respond. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, got no comments on this side. I just gonna sit in here and listen.
Okay.
Too big of a learning curve. You gentlemen have a great evening.
Well, you too. Next on the list, we have Gary, AF8A. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just a quick reminder, the North American QSO part of the SSB version is a little less than 2 weeks away. We got another participant today for the Hamsci team, so that's good. I think we're up to 8 now. Always room for more. Also, Jonathan's been teaching me a little bit about VLF, something I've never experienced or been involved with, so it's always good to get involved with something new. That's it. Back to net.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is James, KG4 DSG. Go ahead, James.
Evening, Dave and the group. I seem to have lost my earbuds, so I'm using some old cans. Other than that, not much to report, and hope everybody's having a good January. Back to the net.
Okay, well, next on the list, we have Jay, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I'm not going to be one to break the run of strings here by saying, and I'll join everybody by saying, not much to report here this past week, guys. 7-3 to all. Stay warm, take care, and stay safe.
Very good. Next on the list is JB K8OS. Go ahead, JB.
Hello, gentlemen. Happy New Year to all of you. As with most of you guys, I think I'm just getting back in the swing of things after the holidays. My holidays were very busy. I had a house full of my children, 2 of them, and you know, so a lot of activities there. I'm also just getting back in the swing of the programming I'm doing for the DSP client. I had some major drama over the past few days. My Linux box, my brand new Linux box, became unstable. It's all on the software side, and I had so many. I'm doing so much work on this machine that it was virtually impossible to trace what was really wrong. But finally, I did get down to an incompatibility. Something was going on between the NVIDIA video graphics driver and CUDA. And finally, I just had to reinstall Ubuntu, and wound up doing it a number of times because I'm using older, they're very good GPU cards, but they are older, and there are compatibility issues with the later releases of CUDA. And try as I might, I couldn't find a matrix that says, okay, you have this type of GPU that's compatible with this graphics driver and with this version of CUDA. I couldn't find that matrix anywhere. It was, the information was actually scattered about. I even went to the NVIDIA website and followed their instructions for installing CUDA and still failed. And finally, through going through a bunch of discussion boards, I finally got everything straight. Now you have to understand, I have CUDA running on a number of machines here. I'm supercomputer rich in my home here, but they're all very different machines that I haven't modified in quite a while. Once I got working a year or 2 ago or whenever. But at any rate, I finally straightened it out actually today. Got everything working. I did lose a bit of code. I'm ashamed to say. I was going so fast I didn't back certain things up, but it won't take me long to repair the damage. Anyway, I'm up and running again. Thank the gods. This was really pretty difficult. Back to Ned.
Well,
Thank you.
I know how that is when you lose your working platform. So it can be challenging. So
Yes, indeed.
anyway, glad to hear it's moving in the right direction.
Yes.
Okay, next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening, everybody. Been monitoring WWV 10 megahertz with the grape, and been studying up a little bit on quantum mechanics and helping the significant other repair Christmas trees. And she got a used Christmas tree and tried to get parts for it. And the company refuses to sell her anything because she's not the original owner. I'm not real happy with that. Anyway, hope everybody has better results with their computers. Yeah, I've been there and done that. And with other projects. Thanks, Dave.
Yep. And next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I've had a pretty busy week. Thanks to a lot of help and a lot of good discussion from others. Gary contacted me with a diagram of the of a of the of it of the installation of the VLF system and the ground magnetometer. I provided him some updates. What I wanted was to kind of emphasize the important parts in a high level wiring diagram and block diagram. Gary, I got your latest revision, and it looks good. There's just a couple modifications, and it should be ready for the website. It was something that I wanted just so people can see exactly how the VLF system is wired and what is important about the wiring, or what needs to be emphasized. Also, I received the EQSL card from SAQ this week, this past week. It was very exciting. It had Nathaniel's in my IDs on it. So it was actually really cool. So I'm in the process of typing up a blog page for SAQ receptions on the HAMSI website, which is going to be part of a larger VLF section. Lastly, there was some really nice discussion from Jules. He provided some modifications to the existing ground magnetometer design, which included galvanic isolation, the use of the FGM magnetometer, or the flux gate, and also the idea of a ovenized chamber to keep the temperature stable. We were in the process of discussion. I apologize for joining in so late. Jules, I was just thinking about this before the meeting as an alternative to a whole new design to provide remote isolation. We can do something like an RG45 coupler with the isolation IC power and signal isolation IC in the middle of two differential I2C drivers, and that'd be used as it'll be made on a little board, kind of like, and RJ45 connectors would put on there, kind of like a little coupler. So I was that just came to me as sort of a cheaper alternative, or an alternative for people who might not need full isolation. Other than that, that's all I have. Back to the net.
Well, fine business. And I have noted the ongoing discussion on the magnetometer boards on part of the group. And so next on the list is Jules, K2, KGJ. Go ahead, Jules.
Okay, good evening, everybody. And congratulations to JB on successful recovery of his crash system. That can be a real hairy mess. No. Yeah, I sent off something based on Jonathan's comments over the past couple of weeks regarding isolation, galvanic isolation, and in potentially reducing any conducted RFI that might interfere with the VLF receiver co-located with a magnetometer at the remote location. Let me state that I know that we've had that discussion, and Jonathan, you've done a lot of research in terms of alleviation of potential problems, but I'd like to see some data. I haven't seen, I know Bill Engelke found some noise problems that originated on the Pi board itself and from the from the switch mode power supply and corrected that with changing to a linear power supply and also shielding of the Pi board at the local end. But I haven't seen anything yet that quantifies the possibility or the actuality of interference RFI at the VLF site itself that happens to be co-located with the magnetometer, or for a grape antenna that might be located there. And before we undertake any remediation of the sort we were talking about in terms of the design, now Scotty has some good points in terms of what we've got right now works for the RM3100. And as I replied in an email today, it's fairly easy to use that same setup to run an FLC 100 magnetometer. In fact, I've got one running now, and Noel Pettit has one also, using the present setup with a slight modification to provide for precision 5.0 volts plus or minus 0.5% at the remote end for analog power to the FLC 100 and the analog digital converter circuitry associated with that. Other than that, it's relatively simple to build a flux gate, a 3-axis flux gate magnetometer supported by the current system. As I say, I've got a full 3-axis one. Noel Pettit has two things. He has one buried unit doing y-axis and then one on his porch doing Z and X. But at any rate, in terms of real need for change to the existing design, at the moment, I think we're fine. I think that we could look to if you want to call it a semi-professional version that might include a number of features, including full galvanic isolation, also higher power, maybe a 12-volt run instead of a 5-volt bus to provide power to a well-insulated, temperature-controlled oven, where it would be surface mounted in places where it's not practical or impossible to do a subsurface mount. So those are things to look forward to. But in terms of what we can do now, and with anybody that wants to use an RM3100, as far as I'm concerned, we're in good shape. And I'll pass that back to Ned.
Well, very good. And that was the conclusion you stated in the email. So I think that's wonderful to reiterate it here. So next on the list is Hyomin Kim, KD2 MCR. Go ahead, Hyomin.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Nothing specific to report. Yeah, other than what Jules mentioned. Yeah, we've been just chatting each other to talk about our magnetometer network augmentation. So I really appreciate Jules' effort in leading the magnetometer development. I'm really happy to have a great team. Also, I don't remember Jules mentioned the other magnetometer network that UCLA is running. Yeah. Okay.
No,
So,
actually, I didn't mention the former Falcon network, but the UCLA effort currently to replace that with a COTS magnetometer of some sort, either the RM3100 or something like the FLC 100, which unfortunately is 10 times the cost or more, 10 to 15 times the cost of the RM3100, but you get an improvement of essentially a factor of 10 in the performance as well by spending that extra money. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was going to mention that there are some educational institute like UCLA, maybe University of Michigan. They have their own magnetometer project where they also are very interested in, engaging amateur communities in their research activities. So it will be a great opportunity for us to be engaged as well, to collaborate with them to make our work more synergistic. So, yep, that's all. Back to Ned.
Okay. Next on the list is in his fancy hat, Michael AAAK. Go ahead.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
And next on the list is Scotty, WA2 DFI. Go ahead, Scotty.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, it was great to exchange some emails today with Jules and Jonathan and other people listening in on the magnetometer. But the good suggestions all, but especially, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jules, isn't the magnetometer that we want to use, the alternate one? That's the one that's like 10 times the cost, right?
Yeah, that you'd have to spend. I bought about a year and a half ago, I bought 3 of the FLC 100s for, I think it ran me a total of $340. So basically 10 times the cost of the ARM. But again, the promise there was an improvement of a factor of 10 in terms of the resolution, getting down to half a nanotesla or less with a time resolution, with a bandwidth that's actually higher. But that was, Hillman was interested in seeing what the performance of a quote unquote affordable flux gate could be. And that's pretty much the only candidate out there that's in that price range.
Pretty much what we have.
Yeah, but basically the ARM 3100 at $30 each is definitely the least expensive thing out there. Yeah. And again, to do anything better than that, you have to spend at least 10 times that amount of money.
Yeah, and so then the idea is if you have to spend that kind of investment, that's going to really limit the number of people that are going to be willing to lay out that kind of money just to play in the game.
Right, but which is why I suggested that there may be a certain subset of experimenters, more serious ones, for example, that would like to do that and possibly and probably are enabled to do their own modifications to put those things in the field. So, but again, in the future, there may be an interest in a, as I say, a quote unquote semi-professional version, which would be more expensive.
Yeah, and I think
in addition to what we've got, which is the bottom line thing that anybody can deploy.
And that's kind of like the whole philosophy of the project anyway, because we're talking about a data engine Mark II and maybe more expensive RF modules. So keep the low end one. And then I'm all for upping the voltage on the cable to 12 volts so we can support ovens and rearranging the power supplies. And I think just adding support, that this really is going to change a lot of things, because it's going to make it so that you can't just plug the board on a Raspberry Pi. Now you've got to have an external power supply.
Right.
The Pi won't supply all that power. And then you're going to have a different board on each end, because the remote board is going to have to support the additional magnetometer circuitry and the precision regulator, which is all inexpensive. I think if we arrange it right, we can make that happen and it'll support both. And then the people who want to use the expensive magnetometer will just buy the Pro model, and we won't really care too much about how much it costs, because it's going to be in the noise compared to the magnetometer sensors you're going to buy.
Right.
And the fact of that is too, we're probably going to sell a lot less of those, because the majority of the people are not going to need that, are not going to want that, are not going to want to shell out the extra money for the higher precision magnetometer. So then you run into the cost of making the board goes up, because now we're only going to make 25 or 50 instead of 500. So it all kind of changes the game around. So
Scotty, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Probably either Nathaniel or Hillman would be a good answer for this. But if we built this medium level magnetometer, do you think more academics that are not at the high end of magnetometer science but need a magnetometer might be interested in it?
Can you say it again? Medium level?
So if we built this flux gate.
So say we have one that costs $500 instead of $100, right? That's what you're saying, right, Dave?
Right.
But yet it's 10 times more sensitive.
Would there be academics that might be interested in that as opposed to ham radio operators?
That's a very good question. So Jules, what was your best resolution you can achieve with the $500 magnetometer?
Well, what I'm looking at right now is we can get down to at least 0.5 nanoteslas and possibly better, but definitely 0.5.
Point what?
0.5 nanoteslas.
Compared
Okay.
to what we get with the other one is about 10 to 15.
Well, with signal averaging and processing, we can actually get that down to 5 nanoteslas currently. So I'm looking at essentially a sensitive or a resolution difference of roughly a factor of 10 and a price difference of roughly a factor of 10.
Yes.
So yeah, I think as far as I know, the most like science grade magnetometers have like maybe around 0.1 nanotesla resolution.
Yeah.
So 0.1 nanotesla versus 0.5 nanotesla is a deal breaker. I don't know. It depends on what kind of science topic we are interested in. But to me, as long as we can keep the resolution level, and then as long as there's no big deviation among the magnetometers, I think science community would be also interested.
Human, it also depends
and
on
here-
I'm sorry, it also depends on the cadence of the measurement.
Right, but
If
cadence
you-
usually like nominally usually 1 second resolution.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because of
I
the-
haven't seen any flux gate magnetometer that acquires data faster than 1 second.
Okay, currently I'm running at 1 second. You can do better than that, actually.
Yeah,
And by signal averaging, you can improve that close to 0.1. But then the problem that we run into is not so much resolution as overall stability. And if I calibrate my magnetometer, what do I use for actual field calibration? Suppose I report a 10 nanotesla change, accurate to 0.05 or 0.5 nanoteslas. But suppose that's only good to, let's say, 5%. Is that going to matter compared to somebody else in another location where we're trying to get a relative change between those two places? Is a 5% error going to be a problem?
Yeah. And also, this is also location dependent. Like, high latitude, a lot of things going on. There are a lot of subtle VLF waves, emic waves. There are a lot of interesting events that are very subtle. So high latitude observations, we might need really good quality magnetometers, whereas maybe lower and mid latitudes, especially around like the US, the continental US, I guess what we mostly see, especially something that is related to space weather, the variation level is quite big. So we may not need such a good resolution. Although, yeah, I mean the higher the better. That's for sure.
But Hillman, the 0.1 magnetometer or 0.1 resolution magnetometers, what is the cost to buy one like that?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, that's the thing. Like 0.1 nanotesla magnetometer, probably like tens of thousands or something like that, right?
So there may be a space for a 0.5 nanotesla resolution one at about $500 in the marketplace. So there's the cheapy 5 nanotesla one. There's the mid-grade 0.5 nanotesla one for 500, and then there's the scientific grade one for lots of money that you get.
What-
0.1.
Can I ask a question, Scotty? There, is it is it possible that some or most of Jules's enhancements could be fit onto perhaps a little bigger board, but not populated, but still the main board that we were providing, and people with the resources to pursue the next step up could at least experiment with them using by populating those themselves. If it turned out there were a lot of people interested in that, then we could build them that way.
Yeah, that's a possibility. However, it would require a change from what we have, which is pretty much production ready now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this
I'm
would
not
be-
thinking about now. I'm thinking about some
Right.
later spin.
So let's say we build 500 of these, they sell out in a year, say, and then it's time to re-engineer it and do another one.
Yes.
We re-engineer it to the pro model, but then we can depopulate it back down to the basic model.
Right.
Yes.
So we still
Yes.
have only one board, but it's a new board.
Right,
Yes.
and I think since nobody really is using the RM3100 either component level or plugging into the header strips that are on the local board, you could really eliminate that circuitry, giving room for the stuff that we're talking about without making a bigger board.
We can, and I'll tell you, the reason that we didn't do
Yep.
that was
Mhm.
because we wanted to have one board for both ends.
Okay, right.
And the second reason is we weren't sure at the beginning that we were going to be able to get the plug-in boards. So we wanted to be able to lose the headers and put the parts down right on the board and not use a header at all. Then, of course, that would make us have to have two different boards.
Right.
We'd have one with the magnetometer populated and one without it. But that was the motivation behind that. And if you look,
Okay.
the layout on that board is exactly copied off of the
Yes,
the
I
board.
saw
So it's
that.
like an X-ray view, down onto the board. But
Right.
definitely, especially if we made them different boards, we could lose all of that on the local board. That would
Yeah.
not be needed.
Yeah,
in
and
fact, interestingly
and
enough-
that could be the next product, the next run after we do this 500, sure,
Right,
or
and
whatever. Yeah,
The thing about it is that the architecture of that board is significantly different because of the power supplies. I mean, I like the idea of a 12-volt power supply on the
Right.
cable and precision regulators on the other end. And what I would do is rather than feed the 3-volt regulator off the 5, I just put 2 LDOs,
okay.
3 to
Yeah,
5. And then what we do is for the cheap board, we just lose the 5-volt one because we don't.
Right.
And that way we could depopulate it. The problem is that you still end up with having to come up with 12 volts on the Pi end, which is a pain in the neck.
Well,
Rather than just plugging it on,
but you could make it an option. You could make it an option. You
make it
can
a
still
jumper
use,
option,
you can
yeah.
still use 5 volts. And if you wanted to add the extra parts, the DC-DC converter and so on, and use the 12 volts, you could do it. But if you just want to use 5 volts, you don't have to run the 12 volts down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of the bottom line option, bottom line choice of using potential options that are on that board. If you wanted the full house, then you have to go ahead and add the extra power supply and all
Right.
that. Sure.
And I'm all for making it easy to do experimentation because that's what we're
Yeah.
all about for anyway.
Yep.
So, definitely. So,
So-
so keep these notes active so that when it comes time, we can do it. I don't want to get too distracted here because I just got some good news today. I found out that Nathaniel, remember the ARIA 10 parts we were going to use for the Data Engine Mark II? They ship on March 15th.
Hey,
Yay.
That's what they said. Now, if you
the
want
Ides
to believe
of
them,
March.
okay, the Ides of March, right? Hey, well, you know what? That's also my birthday, so that's my.
Oh, well,
Happy birthday, Scott.
yeah, that'd be a great present.
Yeah, so now I got the gun pointed at my head because we got to do that. So it's piling up here, but
How's the adapter board coming?
it's still in its present state. I've got to get with Tom and do a few last changes, and then we're going to be full speed ahead with the CAD. However, I've been bumped out of first place because of another contract that we have to get done, but it's a modification to a board that will only take a couple days. So I'm looking at next week, be working on that and getting that. I want to get that out the door so then we can start working on the DE Mark II and the hardware. And then of course we have the whole issue of parts because we've got all the parts for the DE Mark I. DE Mark II is going to be very similar to the Mark II for most of the board. But there's going to be enough significant differences, and I really don't want to pirate away all the parts from the Mark I, because as soon as I do that, you know what's going to happen.
We're going to get
parts will show
the
up.
FPGA we need,
And then I'll have other parts that I can't get because I stole them from the other kid.
and then we'll be in trouble.
And they'll be in trouble. So the only real part I've got to deal with right now is how am I going to pay for these parts that I ordered? And I asked the rep today, I talked to him at length. I said, well, if I push them out to June or May, he says, oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. He says, if you do that, they'll give the parts to someone else and you'll never know when you're going to get the parts you're replacing.
And these are the new ARIA parts, right?
These are the new ARIA 10 parts that we had.
But don't you have money for that from ARDC?
No, I never went through. I've got money for the adapter board, but I don't have money
Oh,
for the DE Mark II, which is going to be probably my first task tomorrow morning is to ask for money to do that.
yeah.
Because that's
Yeah,
now,
I thought you had money for that from
no, I
ARDC.
don't. I was going to ask for it, and I just didn't get around to doing it. It was on my
Okay.
list of to-dos, and with the holidays and everything, it backed up, and I didn't.
I understand.
So anyway, that's definitely a high priority, because now that if I can get the parts, it's like, and I suspect that a lot of the other hard to get parts that are on the Data Engine Mark I, we're probably just going to dump them, because we can lose the USB 3 port.
Mhm.
Okay, we can lose gigabit Ethernet ports, because we're going to have a 10 gig port. And so a lot of the stuff goes away, which is the stuff that's hard to get. So, and on this other project that's taking precedence over the radio project, is half of the relayout on that board is changing parts from parts you can't get to parts that you can get. And it was pretty much everything was almost a drop in. We have one part. I take that back. So we had a part that was an SO part, and you could buy dips, but you couldn't buy SOs. Now I'm kind of philosophically opposed to putting a dip part on a new board, because it'd have to be hand assembled. So I went back yesterday, and 2 weeks ago, zero stock. Now they got 1,000 of them, SO parts. So some things are getting a little better. Maybe not the things that we need, but a few of them are. So I'm hoping it's going to ease up. The capacitors and resistors are a pain in the neck, because they change all the time, but I've always been able to get the values that I need through one manufacturer or another. So that's just a nuisance. But the ICs are what's the problem. And on the Data Engine Mark II, we're not, like I said, we're going to lose a bunch of them, but we're not really going to change much else. And so as long as I can get connectors and things like that, we should be okay. Just okay.
Hey, Scotty, I wanted to ask you, have you had any communications with Tom? He hasn't been here a couple of weeks, and
I have
what
not.
he's up
And
to.
he's one of the first on my list that I need to talk to, because he and I are going to be working on the adapter board to make sure that it all plays together right. And incidentally, the adapter board and the loopback boards for the Data Engine Mark I, those are both in that grant that ARDC gave us.
Okay.
So that means when we do get the Max 10s, we'll be able to build the boards and test them, because we'll have loopback fixtures. And they seem like just a nuisance, but if you don't have them, those connectors are really hard to connect to.
Right.
So, so I haven't heard from Tom. I'll drop him an email this week and see what he's doing.
Okay.
And he just got remarried, right?
Yes.
So he's probably
Well,
enjoying
and
himself now.
it's been the holidays,
It's
so,
been the holidays, yeah. So
and it's been COVID.
it's been
People
COVID.
hiding.
And we've got agenda set up too for Hamcation. That's in like what, 3 weeks from now? It's
You
the
and
first-
Bill?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bill will be there, but I know Mel will be there. Mel's going to talk about digital voice, and then Dan is going to be there.
Oh, okay.
And Dan was going to be here tonight, but he said he got the COVID booster and he's feeling under the weather on that. So he's staying, he's resting. So anyway, we've got a whole schedule of talks, technical talks, kind of like DCC, a little bit lower level than DCC, but on lots of various subjects, mostly open software and open hardware and projects that are ongoing, technical stuff that's ongoing. And that'll be Friday the 9th, 10th, 11th, Friday the 11th of February is the date that all our talks are scheduled. So come down to Orlando if you live nearby, stop by. That's it for me.
Okay. Well, I believe, even though we've kind of progressed into open discussion, we're
At least
done
it's not bad news this week like it is every other week.
Yeah, that's good.
I have something to share.
Go ahead.
So over the holidays, I did work a fair amount of 160 meters, and I finished 160 meter WAS. Worked all
Oh,
states.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Hawaii was really difficult.
yeah.
So did you
Anyway.
do it in the Stu Perry or what? How was it in the Stu Perry test on 160 or was it?
No,
just
no,
a
no. This
free-for-all?
was yeah, this is lone wolf solo flight like I usually do.
That's good. That's much harder than in the contest.
Anybody-
Yes.
Yeah. Did anybody work the Awrl 160 CW contest?
I was a little bit late on that. I
Okay.
just wasn't thinking in that mode, and I also missed the RTTY roundup. I saw
Oh,
all
yeah.
these people calling, not on 160, but on
Right.
80 through 10,
Yep.
calling CQRU, and I'm like, why are they calling Russia? You know, big deal.
So
No, it
who-
is. Go ahead.
Who was doing the NAQP organization?
That was me.
Oh, there you go. How's it coming?
We're up to 10 now. I just got another operator just signed up. So that's 2 full teams at least. So
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I went to grad school with Kevin KJ 40AP, and then he got his master's, and he's still there as their engineer down there. So I'm really glad he's on this. He should definitely be on the Hamsai Super Darn team.
Yeah.
I'd like to play in that contest too, but my noise level is about S8 or S9 here, and it's more frustrating than it is anything else.
Hey, Scotty, your call, you guys were out on field day with your call this year, weren't you?
We've been out on field day for the last 54 years with my call.
I remember working you guys either on 40 or 80 meters. Would have been early Sunday morning. I definitely recognize the call.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I think you sent me an email and you mentioned that.
I
And
might
went
have.
back-
Okay.
I went back in my logs and I couldn't find the QSO, so I'm not looking in the right place. And it was probably on 20 meters.
Yeah, it may have been 40 or 80 because I tend to operate early in the morning and whatnot. But anyhow, it would have been W3 USA would have been a totally different call sign. So
Oh, that's why I couldn't find it.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that call.
And Gary, I would join, but I can only do 10 and 6.
Yeah, there's be very
Okay.
little 10-meter sideband activity. I don't think the sun's going to cooperate quite that well. But
Yeah,
Say,
so I'd probably be a liability.
David, you
6 might be open. You never know.
David,
Look
you
at that
need to
skip.
find another ham and join up with them.
that's true too. I mean, there's no penalty for putting somebody on a team. If you make one contact, great. If you make none, that's okay too. But whatever. We're open.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Rachel to operate with me.
There you go.
So yeah, if everything works right, my mom's gonna come up for the day to help watch Anthony, and then hopefully Rachel and I will participate in the contest.
Oh, that would
Excellent.
be cool.
So
But so how come Anthony's not participating?
he doesn't use words yet.
Oh, we'll give him a key.
We're still
I bet-
working. He
I
does
bet
play
he
with
could
the key.
pound on the key pretty good.
He can pound on the key, all right.
Hey, I sold my Heathkit color alignment generator at the last Hamfest.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, everybody knows what that is, right?
Yeah.
But nobody in the world needs one of those anymore, ever. Unless you've got a 1960s TV. The reason the guy bought it, I sold it for $5. It was in great condition. He told me why he's buying it. It's for his 4-year-old because it has knobs and switches to turn and play with. So it's a toy for his child. Which is funny because my buddy back in Maryland, I remember I was back there visiting him one time when he came back from the Hamfest. And his son was his oldest son was 3, maybe not even 3. And he got tired of having all of his gear, having all the knobs turned when he would come in, because his son would get up on the chair and grab things and start turning things. So he bought him this piece of gear at the Hamfest. It was called a Nobitron. And we to this
A
day have no
Nobitron?
idea what a Nobitron is or what it does, but his son Andrew had a wonderful time playing with that thing, and just it had tons of knobs on it. So he was happy. He had his own radio then. And he kept his fingers off of Dad's radio, which was a big plus. But I've always wondered what a Nobitron was. Don't know. And it's long gone, so think his son is 25 now, so it's been a long time.
I thought you were going to say you're also sold him a degaussing coil, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I think I still have one of those around somewhere.
But not good for children.
I have one TV that has a CRT in it that's left. It's an RCA, and it's got a maple cabinet, and it's really nice, beautiful piece of furniture. I couldn't bear to throw it out or put it out by the curb. So, and it's got an automatic or a soft power button. One of the first ones it had. It's from the 1970s, and the soft power button doesn't work anymore. So I'm sure that the TV works. It's just if I fix that one problem, probably in the low voltage power supply that's always on, waiting for you to press the button. So what it'll be used for, if I ever fix it, I don't know. What do you use a TV, a channel 2 through 15, 2 through 13 TV for nowadays?
Yeah, looking for an analog signal, maybe like ET or something.
No, your Pong game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Or how about amateur TV?
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's DVB-T now.
Bummer.
Yeah, I have 3 transmitters that are basically obsolete now because they went to DVB-T, DVB-S.
It's okay. I'm going to outfit my shop with the 3 dial phones that I found in the box at the back.
Well, we have Dave McGaw just jumped in.
Good evening, all. I had a conflict. Thought I'd see in drop in and see how things were going.
Well, do you have anything to talk about?
Not immediately, except that it's going below 0 here tonight.
Oh, you're getting the cold weather we had a couple days ago.
Right.
I guess it's still a warm 17 degrees over here.
We got down to 6 here.
Yeah, I'm 14 right now, but it's supposed to go below 0.
Yeah, we're going to get -1 tonight, and I've still got about two
JB's
tenths.
just laughing. These are all warm temperatures.
That's right.
It was 71 today here, and it's 64 right now.
I've still got 2/10 of an inch of glazed ice on the driveway.
I get to say neener now because in the summer you guys lay it on me when it's 115 here. So
yeah,
but it's
dry
I'll
heat. Take the cold. I'm not
dry
I'm
heat.
not unhappy.
It's dry heat, but so's an oven.
I wasn't going to mention that.
You're talking
No,
to a
I just
guy
have to
who
tell you.
I flew into Fairbanks, middle of January. Get off the plane. It's -52 outside, and I say yes. I love cold weather.
Well,
I don't like to be cold, but I like the
my
cold.
bicycling buddy won't go out bicycling if it's below 60. That tells you how wuss we are down here.
Well, you're reminding me when I was out in the Bay Area for Christmas one year, and it was 80 degrees during the day, and they were complaining about it being too hot, and it was 7 degrees at night, and they were complaining about it too cold.
Wait a minute.
So, Scotty, one year I lived in Finland and I rode my bicycle all winter. And only when it got below -10 C did people switch to the bus or walk.
Wow. Yeah. So how do you use fat tires or studs or chains?
Fat tires, and they are forward thinking. They plow the bicycle trails before the streets.
Okay.
I asked them why, and they said, well, it's a lot easier to drive a car in the snow than it is to bicycle in the snow.
Okay. But then if the bicycle trail's along the side of the road, when they plow the street, doesn't it fill up the bicycle trail with snow?
Their trails are separate.
Okay.
So it's through the woods.
Well, when I was visiting Mike, my friend Mike up in Minnesota, he's always telling me how he just bikes all winter, and it's just great to go out when it's 32 degrees or below. And when I went and visited him, I think he's handing me a line here because when it got below about 40, he didn't want to go outside.
Oh, yes.
I just want to mention a few days ago it was -20. Oh, less than -20 here.
Fahrenheit?
So, yes. Of course.
That's the reason I
Well,
live
once you
here.
get down to what, -30 or -40, it doesn't matter if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius.
This
Yeah,
is like
that's-
falling off your
Well,
tower. Once you get
minus
above about
40 is where
30,
it crosses over.
Yeah.
but that temperature is like falling off your tower. You know, once you get above 30 feet, doesn't really matter.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I went to school in upstate New York, and there was a day when and there's a day called Test F, which was it was a time slot on Wednesday mornings when all freshmen had a test. So, because we all took the same core classes, right? So there was Test F, and there was also a Test S for sophomores. But I remember one Test F, it has to be at 7:30 in the morning for some reason. I don't know why that is, but it's the first period. And I remember the wind chill was -54 degrees. And you come outside, and I mean, you get to the test, and you got ice on your beard, just like icicles hanging down. You have to break them off. It's great.
No, we
I-
just
I
don't
also
get that
went-
cold anymore.
I also went to school in upstate New York, and it was brutal.
Yeah. Well, I was at RPI up on the hill above the Hudson, and the wind would whip up that hill right up through campus. And we had all the dorms were on the other side of campus, so we had to walk into the wind to get to the test. And
Oh, RPI, that's in the south.
I don't know. I think some of the most dramatic times I've had walking through school was when I was up in Svalbard. You'd have to
Yes, I
walk,
imagine that would be.
walk from the dormitories up there 3 kilometers down the hill.
it was uphill both
And
ways, right?
you'd have to wear your ski goggles and put on your full scooter suit and snowsuit.
How was the
something
wind
else.
down there? Do you have lots of wind?
Oh my gosh, it was so windy. I remember we did a scooter trip over Easter to this place called Windy Point, and oh my gosh, it was crazy. But I had so much clothing on, I just layered up so much that I had a snowmobile helmet on. I could hear the wind whipping past me, but I didn't feel a thing. It was just, I was so protected. I was like in this little, it was amazing.
You didn't want to fall down. You might roll a while.
Yeah.
You couldn't get back up. Like, what's that movie, A Christmas Story, where he
Oh,
gets
yeah.
knocked over and he can't get up?
Yep.
Yeah, Scotty, Troy, New York is really southern. I mean, that's just southern.
Yeah.
New
No,
York.
no, no, no.
That's-
Poughkeepsie is southern.
No.
If you look at we used to always look at the weather map, and there was like this line between Troy and Poughkeepsie. There's this east-west line, and below there, it was 30 degrees warmer than it was where we were. They would
That's
get
all-
rain, and we get
That's all
snow.
southern New York. That's
Where did you go to? Plattsburgh? Stewart?
well, it was in St. Lawrence County,
I'm not
St.
sure.
Lawrence University. So it was up
What town is it in?
Canton, New York.
Okay, still not. So up on the Turnpike extension.
Near Watertown.
Okay, Watertown.
Well, yeah, no, an hour north of Watertown, I think it was.
Is it up around Messina?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll grant you northern then.
Yeah, well, yeah, Troy is about probably 50 miles south of where we are. It's straight over from
You're in New
Bennington.
Hampshire, right?
What's that?
You're in New
Yeah, I'm
Hampshire.
in New Hampshire, about a third of the way up,
Okay.
Hanover area.
Okay.
I don't know. I worked with a lot of guys that went to Michigan Tech in Houghton in the Upper Peninsula of
Yeah.
Michigan. He'd say you guys all lived in the Bahamas compared up there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A Youper, huh?
Unless you were talking to somebody from Thunder Bay on the other
Yeah.
side.
I think Svalbard takes the cake, though. I don't think we can top that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One year at Michigan
Well,
Tech, they were jumping off
South
the dorm
Pole.
roof
Yeah.
into the snowbanks.
Hey, well, wait till July down here. Well, nobody will be as hot as we are, unless you live in Death Valley. But it's a dry heat.
I think some of my favorite though were just some of the personalities up in Svalbard. There was this one librarian who worked at the university, and her philosophy was She just couldn't live anywhere south of Tromsø. She said anywhere south of Tromsø is just too warm for her.
Yeah, except
So-
Tromsø is warm.
Yeah.
Tromsø is really warm. It's when I was out there a few years ago, Tromsø, and we were on Andoya. It was warmer there than it was here.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's close to the ocean, gets a bit of
Yes.
the Gulf Stream up there. And I found that actually quite warm.
I don't really
Scotty?
start feeling comfortable until it hits 90.
Scotty,
So,
do you remember Shell
yeah,
that came to
he lives in
DCC one year?
Tromsø,
Yeah,
right?
still
Is he-
does.
Is he still around and doing
Yes,
stuff?
he's
Yeah.
doing a front end for the Annan radio.
Okay, because I met him one time at Hambench, it was great
Yes,
talking to
Yeah,
him.
Yuha is in Tromsø.
yes.
Wow.
Nice little town. I like the reindeer hot dogs.
This
So
is
what did I
amazing.
miss?
We're actually before the end of the session.
Yes.
David was asking what he missed. I think that was you, David.
Yeah,
I
that was
don't-
me.
I don't know if we want to.
Do we have update on the adapter cards?
No, but we had a lively discussion on the magnetometer and some changes to make on the next revision when we get around to that, maybe after the
Yeah.
production run of this one.
But Scotty, you had your good news.
Oh yeah, the FPGAs for the Data Engine Mark II are scheduled to ship on March 15th. So not Mark 1, unfortunately, but and I talked to the rep and he says, don't talk to me about Max 10s because Max 10s are built by TSMC and he says they're on hard allocation. He says, good luck. But there's some good
What
news
does-
for Elecraft users here. Anyway, good news for Elecraft. They managed to scrape up some for them. So they can build K4s. So that's good.
What does a hard allocation mean?
Hard allocation means that if you place an order, they won't even consider fulfilling it unless they know who the customer is, unless they have the customer name. So what he says basically is like the distributors, they don't get any product for stock. They get product to fulfill specific users' orders, and that's it.
Yeah, they're going to the big direct
Big guys.
customers.
Yeah. So, and the other ones are on their long lead time, but they're not on allocation. That's how we got it. Because actually what happened was we placed that order like in August for an October delivery. And then our brilliant salesperson saw our Max order and said, oh, well, that must be that's supposed to be for the same thing. So she canceled the order for the Aria 10s. So after reading her the Riot Act, she put the thing in, she got it reinstated because it shows that the order was put in December 1 and for March 15 delivery. So we'll see. Well, delivery wasn't even noted until just like a week ago. So once
We may
delivery-
have to wait for TSRC's plant to open up here.
Yeah, you got one being built there too?
Well, I mean, there's one in the States that they're building.
Yeah, it's in Phoenix.
Right.
And it's like 100 acres of, I've heard it's going to be like 5 lines, but it's also going to take 5 years to get them all built. So, and then Intel's supposed to be building one down in Chandler, south of here. And I've heard a rumor of one in Texas. I don't know who's doing it in Texas, but the one here is TSMC. And then Intel's.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
sure that one's
someone's building one
processing.
around Austin.
Yeah, you don't know who that is?
I can't remember. I thought it might have been TSRC also, but I think it's
You know, that's
somebody
the
else.
funny thing
Maybe
about
it's Global Foundries.
funny thing about markets. If you just keep your hands off of them, they will eventually correct themselves.
Right.
Eventually.
Well, I think a lot of production is going to be pulled out of Taiwan
Yeah,
for various reasons.
for various reasons. But I'm glad to see that's like 3 big plants that are going to be built. So that's good news. I'm getting tired of trying to design things around parts that don't exist. Or at least I
Yeah.
can't get.
Well, isn't that what FPGAs are for?
They replace all those parts you can't get with another part you can't get. Oh boy, sign me up for that. So
Well, I'm going to say 73. We did get a guy jump in here, but he jumped out again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say 73 as well. I'm going to.
I am too.
All right,
Thank
have a
you,
good week,
everyone.
everyone.
The same.
Have a good week. Stay warm.
73.
73.
73.
23. See you.